So just need to check that you are Georgia.
That's me.
You don't have to answer the next question, but it's about age range. So,
I'm 24, a month away from 25.
so you're scraping
Yeah.
through on the
I'm
low
the young
one.
one.
Okay. We've done a little bit of research already around who we think our audiences might be, and we've attempted to put them into kind of 3 categories. So this bit of the test is really testing those categories to see if they resonate with users. So I'm going to read you the 3 categories, and you can tell me if any of them resonate with you.
Okay.
And if they don't, then you can just give me another description. Okay, so the first one is influencer or thought leader. The second one is owner or manager.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is doer or researcher.
Oh, I'd probably go do a researcher.
Yeah.
A lot of what I do is sort of information based. I'm pulling information, so.
In addition to those kind of user categories, we've developed a set of personas.
Yeah.
And they are basically a collection of kind of fabricated people that are based on a larger group. So what I'd like you to do is you can use the arrow keys or you can scroll. Have a flick through those. I think this can start at the top. Have a flick through those.
Yeah.
And let us know if you kind of align yourself to any of these.
Okay.
If you're like, that's me, then let me know.
In terms of the company or what they do?
Yeah, so this is really about you and your role, your responsibilities, your needs and motivations. Okay. If none of them really resonate, that's fine. You can just say, none of these people are me. If one of them feels quite similar to you and your role, but maybe the quote's wrong.
Yeah.
This is just about trying to tidy up and refine these personas.
Okay.
So that we can use them as we're planning.
Am I okay to read through everything as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Doesn't resonate with me, that one.
Yeah.
At all, actually. And he's an owner as well.
I think there's about 7, so maybe.
Yeah, if I flick through FinCap, I know them.
Okay.
I work a lot with fintech companies, actually, advising them on their property needs. And it's such a growing market. And they're expanding rapidly. I guess they do a different thing, but I resonate with them in the sense that the way they look after their clients is all about protecting revenue and growth, and that's something I do with my clients as well.
Okay.
BlackRock's a property, so I would resonate with them. Yeah, I think so far out of all of them, that's who I would associate myself most. As Jacob Paul, being a doer.
Good old Jay. Do you want to flick through the rest of them and see if there are any others that
KPMG
are more like you? And obviously, just the fact that they're guys, that doesn't matter.
No.
It's more about the roles and what the kind of stuff they do.
No.
Some people have kind of chosen a primary one and a secondary one, so it's really up to you how you kind of, link yourself to these.
Yeah, so I think again it's probably still BlackRock, but my secondary one would be this Symmetry Fund, Portfolio Fund Manager.
Okay, so the first one is Jay at BlackRock.
Yes.
And who's the second one?
Anna Morland.
Are there any kind of adjustments that you'd make to these that don't really seem realistic? or maybe we've kind of, got it wrong with these kind of characters?
No, not at all.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
think, yeah, I mean, again, I would put him actually in terms of. I have a lot of company and client meetings, a lot of face to face. That didn't really resonate as much as the other two I chose, but I would probably still say Jake Kapur and Anna as my two.
Excellent. Okay. So the next bit of the interview is about kind of you and your role and some of your responsibilities. So, what company do you work for?
They're called Jones, Norris, Adams.
Jones.
Yeah. Norris and Adams.
And Adams.
No, just Adams. Sorry, Jones, Norris, Adams.
Joan Norris Adams.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's your job title?
Chartered surveyor.
And what is a chartered surveyor?
It's very broad, but in 2 words, commercial property. I look after commercial property.
Okay. How many in the team?
There's 10 of us.
10 of you. And what are the kind of daily tasks that you're responsible for?
I've got quite a broad role, but most of what I do is acquiring properties for my clients, occupier clients, and advising on their commercial leases.
Okay. We're going to move on to content and tools.
Okay.
Yeah. So what kind of content do you consume for your role, and why do you consume it?
Content as information. So
any content that you might need to support your role, or that's critical to your role, stuff that you need to know.
Yes. A huge amount would be what we call comparable information. So if I was to...
Did you say comparable?
Comparables.
Comparables.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking to do a rental valuation, I'll have to pull information from various databases, or the old-fashioned method of picking up a phone to another agent and find out their opinion of value and what they're marketing their buildings at. But there's lots of property databases, namely CoStar, EGI,
Okay.
and it's just a way of pulling information.
So you mentioned some of the sources. What were they again?
CoStar,
CoStar.
CO Star, and EGI.
EGI.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're huge sort of property databases that track market trends and deals.
Okay. How much of your day is taken up using these content sources?
I'd say 25%.
Okay, quite high.
So hefty, yeah.
And is there too much of this content in terms of it's information overload and I have to filter it down, or is there not enough of it and you're always trying to get more?
Really depends on the market, I'm afraid. Most of what I do is central London, so I would say there's a lot of evidence to filter through, to manage.
Okay, and is there any habits around this content? Is it something you do in the morning with your coffee? Is it during the day, evenings? Is it always on, or is it just kind of on demand?
It's on demand. It's depending what project I'm doing, but I tend to do this sort of more in the afternoon when I get a bit tired.
Okay. Is that right? I said on demand, but mostly in the afternoon when you're tired. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Just checking. Okay. So what kind of tools do you use to access role-based content? Is that the same tools that you kind of discussed earlier? Are there any kind of like content feeds or paid services?
Yeah, so mostly what I discussed earlier.
Yeah. So is this kind of CoStar,
Yeah,
AGI?
but actually, my industry still was quite old-fashioned in the sense that we always resort back to traditional methods of. I spend a lot of my time on the phone, sourcing information, emails. There's various sort of agent societies in London that I'm a member of, and so I probably have about 500 emails a day into my inbox with new properties on the market, which is quite a useful tool as well.
Okay. These services, are they paid? So CoStar,
They
Asia,
are paid. They're all paid.
all
Yeah,
paid.
unfortunately, yeah.
And which one's the best, or they're just indifferent?
CoStar, I'd probably say is the best. They have sort of thousands of ground researchers constantly tracking what's going on. Whether there's a new board up, they'll know about it. So it's very the information you get is always very up to date and accurate.
Okay. Have you heard of Curation Corporation?
Haven't till today.
You haven't? Okay. So the next question would be, can you describe Curation and what they offer? That's going to be a hard question
It's
to
really
answer.
tricky, I'm afraid.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Good. So you're not aware of any services that you're using at the moment? Okay, cool. So the next bit, I think, is quite a fun bit for you. What I'm going to do is show you a working prototype that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So similar to kind of BBC News, if you want to just get familiar with that interface.
Yeah.
And as you start to become familiar with it, if you could just kind of describe what you see and what you think you can do.
Okay. Sort of looks like a search engine to me. So obviously there's various ways that you can sort of limit the information from where you're getting it, so your different sources. So you could be able to break it down. I guess you'd be able to search for something quite particular.
Is this the kind of tool that you'd use to address your content needs in your role?
Yeah, it would be.
Okay. Do you want to try and kind of use this tool to see if you could service one of your kind of daily tasks that you might do?
Sure. So everyone's getting worried about. So at the moment, I get asked this question every day. What's going to happen?
So what did you put? You put property
market in London.
Okay.
So it's come up with, obviously, Chinese investment. I see, that's quite clever. So it just filters through everything and gives you exactly what you're looking for.
Are there kind of other tools that you'd use to do this similar kind of research, or is it more kind of like web-based Google searching?
Yes, if I was, because I do write a lot of reports as well, and that includes market commentaries and things. So I am using a lot of simply going to Google and having to extract information, but then you are sort of going through pages and pages trying to get the right articles.
Who are these reports for?
Clients.
And what kind of clients?
Clients who need
Are they commercial clients?
They're all commercial, and they'll need clients who need a valuation for some reason. There's whether it's for a loan or just advice on purchasing a property.
Yeah.
But we're required to put in a market commentary, and that is just pulling information. And a lot of the big consultancies like CBRE and Savills do their own research reports, but sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. So I am on Google a lot, sort of just pulling simply just Googling, quite old-fashioned.
Yeah. So how does this compare to other tools that you might use?
I'd say it looks quite simple, which is good. And easy to use. I mean, I think I got it straight away. You're not trying to overcomplicate it, but it's not like something I use at the moment.
Which elements are useful and why? Alert signals. What do you think alert signals are?
I was trying to figure that out. I think that could be quite useful. So could you choose a particular alert signal, and if something were to come up, then it would give you an alert, or is it just searches that you use on a regular basis? Should I try one? But I assume the tags are searches, and then is that the amount of articles that have come up in the search?
What do you think that means, that content?
I assume that's it. So that could be quite useful, because then you could have your set tags, and then rather than having to go back or try to remember your useful tags, you can have them down the side. And being able to limit the sources as well. I would only use information from a trusty source, so being able to sort of pick and choose is quite good.
Are there any sources there that kind of resonate with some of the tasks that you might do in your job?
Yeah, Bloomberg. There was BBC News there, but I wouldn't use that. Just more of a news page. I need sort of concrete facts.
So that's why you'd specify Bloomberg?
Bloomberg, yeah. And the rest aren't really relevant to me. Birmingham Mail or Automotive News.
Is there any elements that are not useful, or elements that you don't understand?
Still not quite sure about the alert signals.
And can you kind of go into a bit more detail about why you're not sure?
Yeah, everything else is quite self-explanatory, I think. It took me a little while to get to the tags, but it is quite self-explanatory, and obviously sources is as well. Alert signals, you say that, it doesn't really resonate to what it actually does. I quite like actually going to the line underneath the title, being when it's published, is useful.
Okay. And why is that?
Because information.
Why is that important?
Yeah, because the information I know needs to be sort of relevant and new. I'm not looking at something that was historical. I can understand the stars, but that wouldn't really. I wouldn't trust a sort of a rated system. I just want to read it myself.
So I'm just writing down that you wouldn't trust the stars system. You'd want to write it down yourself.
Only because I think people's opinions are different. What I find useful, someone might not.
So did you say you'd want to write it down yourself or rate it yourself?
As in, I would want to read the information myself,
yeah,
because it might be useful to me, it might not.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to say this, I'm not going to read it because it's a 2-star. I think that would be slightly naive.
So there's a kind of, guess a fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah.
Because I can't afford to sort of get things wrong, being the job title I am and having to give advice to a client. You need to make sure you're always telling the whole story and not missing anything out.
Okay, that's a really nice comment. Thank you. It's going to make me look brilliant.
Hopefully.
Right, where are we up to? So we've gone stuff that you don't understand and stuff that isn't useful. Is there anything you just remove off the page if you could?
No, because we haven't crowded the page at all, and I don't think no is the answer.
Okay, so thinking about your job and your role, is this a product that you'd use? And if so, would you attach a kind of cost to it? Would it be something that you'd pay for?
I think the larger consultancies would absolutely pay for it. They have huge research teams, analysts within teams, and it's a way of saving time, which is obviously very costly.
Yeah.
I'm at a much smaller firm, so trying to get something paid through the directors can be a bit tricky, but it would be something we would use. Yeah.
Are there any final bits of feedback that you want to give on this bit before moving on? And this is kind of like a double question, really. You could also try and give us 3 things that you'd change and reasons why. This is your kind of last opportunity to go to town on this.
What's topics? So I quite like this. This is good. I don't know how this works in terms of your whether it sort of tunes it to your searches or if it's just what's on demand, but what people are reading at the moment. But that's quite good.
Okay.
And it's
how does it compare to the other interface, the search interface, and which one would you prefer to see first? Or which one would you find more useful?
Well, I think the search topic is definitely much more useful because you can specify exactly what you're looking for, and it's personalised. The topics, I think, is more, to be honest, I'd probably just use it more as procrastination because I'm just sort of going down, and if I see something that I'm interested in, but actually then I've sort of come across something here, actually that's caught my eye, so I would press on it. And actually reading this information here, it's not something I'm sort of looking to find, but now I found it is quite interesting, and I always need to learn more information. For what I do, being qualified, I have to do a certain amount of hours a year of CPD, which is continued professional development, and they just make you read things outside the box and make sure you're always expanding your objectives and what you're learning about. So even for me to actually go onto this for an hour in the evening and read through things I wouldn't necessarily actually have found otherwise, it could be good.
Okay. So that concludes the interactive domain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next bit is showing you some just some images of some new stuff that we've got, and the purpose of this is to really compare it to what you've just seen and to figure out if it's worse or if it's the same or if it's better than what you've just experienced. And again, just talk out loud. You won't be able to interact with stuff on the page, but you will be able to scroll. So we've got the kind of images in the browser. So you can scroll up and down.
Okay. Yeah.
And really we want to find out are there things that are unclear, what's useful, what's not useful.
Okay.
Is this going in the right direction, or do we need to kind of keep things from the previous one?
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is one whole one. So already it's taken me a while longer to understand what's going on.
And why is that?
It's a lot of information on one page. It's quite scary.
And can you go into any more detail around the specifics of that? Is there stuff that you now don't understand that's kind of taking you time to figure out, or?
Actually, it's bizarre. I didn't even see the search engine there at all. The section where you can search. The other page was a lot more clear about. I instantly knew how I would be able to use that. There are a lot more words as well in each section of each report, which I think can be quite distracting to someone. You look at it and go, oh God. And then also it's some of them have the synopsis, some of them don't, so it's not very consistent.
Would you prefer for all of them to have the synopsis?
Yes, I would. Because you can sort of then go down. You might not want to read it all, but at least you can read the beginning and you're not going backwards and forwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so could you kind of, I know you can't click, but if you could click, could you tell me what things on the page are interactive and what might happen if you were to interact with them?
Okay. So obviously you can search using the search toolbar. Down the left-hand side, you can sort things. So you've got themes, so you can click on and off themes, and I guess that will just what's the word I'm looking for? Limit what you've been searching for. And then you've got the alert signals again. I'm still not sure about the alert signals. But again, you can tick and untick them.
So when you say you're not sure about them, you're not sure what they do, or you're not sure what they mean?
I'm not sure what they do or what they mean.
Okay.
And you've got comments, but actually I can see now that some are ticked, some are not ticked. But I guess that sort of changes the view on this page here. If you want comments to be seen or not, which is quite good because then it gives individual users the option.
Is there any way to show more information on this page?
By what you've given, or just
so again, thinking about kind of what's interactive and what's not interactive. If you could just go through the page and tell me what things you could click on and which.
Oh, I see. Okay. Comments. I assume that you can read what people have commented about, and your plus sign to me always signals that something will pop out. The plus sign. And I don't know, there might be a way that you could get the synopsis here. I assume there would be.
Okay. Do you want to move on to the next tab?
Yeah.
So what's going on here, do you think?
Looks quite similar to me.
You can move between the
Yeah.
previous tab as well if you want to compare them.
Look, can't see much difference. Okay, so the initial one is that it's sort of the expanded whole. Oh, I see. Yeah. So that's where you've.
I was desperately trying not to lead you to that. What I really wanted to find out is if you were using this tool on your own without, a researcher,
Yeah.
would you have actually clicked on that bubble to see more, or would you have simply ignored it, thinking that I've read it all and there's no more to see?
No, I would definitely. That just with the X. I mean, I think that's probably one of the first things I spotted on when you asked me if I can get more
Okay.
information.
Fine.
You would click to expand, and I almost prefer that than having to minimize it, because it's just when your eye first goes to the page, it's just less to take in. It's not too overwhelming. And you sort of fit more on a page because obviously you've got a big gap. It leads to a big gap there, which requires people to sort of scroll more. People are lazy. Yeah, so these are all minimised, aren't they? And so this is a bit where you can add comments yourself. Okay, so this is a bit where you've clicked.
So do you want to talk me through that? How might you access that?
So you would, I assume you would click on team comments,
Okay.
and that would expand into this bit, and you could read other people's comments and add your own. And you could tag people in it. Is that right? The @ sign.
What do you think that kind of does?
If
What's your assumption of that?
if there was a particular article that I thought my colleague might find useful or interesting, I could tag them in it, and then I guess that would sort of flag up with them. So, oh, look, have a look at this, which is good, I think.
Is that something that you think you'd find useful? And
Yeah.
why would that be useful?
It's useful because it's instant, rather than copy paste article into email. We all get enough emails. It can easily get lost.
On the live demo, there's a feature that helps you share content with your colleagues.
Mhm.
So if we want to just jump between the two, which is this tab,
Yeah.
we've got a feature here.
Yeah.
So which one do you prefer? Kind of share it on email, Twitter, Facebook, or would you prefer to kind of add comments and tag colleagues?
If all my colleagues had access to this, I probably would just tag them.
Mm-hmm.
Again, simply for the reason that we all get enough emails. But if I wanted to, I think the LinkedIn one, I guess, is good because you can make it public to everyone, rather than just sending something to a particular colleague. You go, oh, everyone look at this. This is really interesting.
Okay.
And I'm on LinkedIn every day. I like to sort of go through and see what people are sharing, the articles that people are sharing.
Sure.
I just wouldn't use Twitter or Facebook. But people do, and companies have their own Twitter and Facebook page.
Okay. Do you want to move on to the last tab?
Is it this one?
Yeah.
Or boosting you?
Is that one, yeah. So again, what do you think this page is for?
So this looks like the second tab of the first page that I went into, where it's just sorting various articles into themes.
And which one would you prefer, or which one do you find more useful? The one that you looked at originally, or this one?
Oh, you can add a theme. I didn't see that with the other one. And that's quite useful because you can just continuously track them. In terms of just the setup, though, I think I preferred the other one.
Okay. And do you want to talk me through why that is?
Because, do you mind if I go back?
Yeah, absolutely.
I liked how, 1, 2, 3, there's 5 on each row. It's just concise. And you can see it all there. And it's short and sweet. For me, if there's lots of writing, this has less synopsis, and that's just easier for me to take in.
Yeah. So would you
I
say
just
it's
think it's smarter.
yeah, excellent.
Yeah, I didn't see the add theme bit, unless I've missed it.
This is a new feature that we're kind of putting in front
Yeah.
of people to see if it's something that they might want.
Yeah, I think they could, because it's quite broad. And if you needed something a bit more specialised, it could be quite useful.
Okay. Is there any kind of final thoughts on the new designs that you've seen?
I think probably repeated what I said, but I think in terms of a new user, I'm more comfortable with this one. It's very self-explanatory. Oh, it doesn't have. Just notice that this doesn't have the commentary on it, does it? No.
Is the commentary something that you think you'd find useful? And
Depends what it's for. I'm not sure what it's actually trying to comment on,
yeah.
or who is it commentary from I guess from BP itself. And I guess, but it could be useful if you just need like a snippet of information rather than having to go in and read the whole article.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for that.
Right.
That bit is now complete. So really, the last bit is I'm trying to develop some questions that can help us with surveys and stuff like that. So we've got a couple of statements around the business, and if you could base your answers on any curation services that you've come across in the past, or the interactive prototype that you just played with, or any of the new designs that you're looking at the moment. And I'd like you to, I'm going to tell you a statement, and you can tell me how much you agree with that statement.
Okay.
So you might be familiar with strongly disagree,
Yeah.
undecided, agree, strongly agree. So the first statement is curation solutions empower enlightened business decisions.
I'd agree with that.
And do you want to give me a reason for the answer?
Because it's a service that you use to, you're either trying to find information or you're trying to sort of back up what you're saying with reasoning. But to get your decision, you need to get your information from somewhere. And being able to instantly access accurate, up-to-date information which is completely relevant to what you're trying to find out can only be a plus for a business, rather than trawling through sort of the mass information we have on Google. And also with Google and the other search engines, you sort of never know how one might make it to the top. You don't know, I don't know what sources to trust. This seems more sort of less biased in a way. It's just sort of giving what you've asked for.
Okay. And the last statement is curation solves the information crisis consuming the business world. And we've got strongly disagree, undecided, agree, or strongly agree.
Solves the information crisis consuming the business world. I'm probably undecided on that one, I'm afraid. I think
Can you
there's
give me some answers for that?
so many portals where we can get information and it's so readily available. I just wouldn't consider there being an information crisis, but it's how we utilise the information right and properly and efficiently. and of everyone's business is different in terms of how much information they need to use. So I don't think it's solving a crisis. I just don't think there is one, but I think it's a means to make people's lives easier and to make better decisions and to be more informed.
Fantastic. Okay. So that's it.
Okay.
Finished. Just want to thank you again for your help.
No problem.
Once I've completed all the kind of interviews and user testing sessions, we can get all that information and combine it and look for commonalities.
Yeah.
And then the stuff that seems to be resonating the best, we're going to keep. The things that seem to crop up the most problems, we're going to try and remove. And then we'll put that through the design process, reiterate on the product, and then continue with more testing to see if we're improving on the previous version.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
A lot of time.